Joining the USDA, she served as president of Southern Bancorp Community Partners, which is a nonprofit community development loan fund and financial development organization promoting economic mobility in rural Arkansas and Mississippi. After graduating from the historic Little Rock Central High School, Dr. Neal completed her undergraduate degree in biology at Swarthmore College. She later earned a doctorate in genetics from Emory University and a master's in bioethics and health policy from Loyola University Chicago. She has also completed executive education on impact investing at the University of Oxford. So while Dr. Neal's educational background and career accomplishments are undeniably very impressive, her organizing skills and her contributions to the economic justice movement are even more inspiring. In 2013, Dr. Neal started a statewide grassroots organization promoting the passage of the Uniform Partition of Heirs Property Act in Arkansas, which was passed with no dissent in 2015. This work was inspired by her family's ownership of rural heirs property in the state. She has consistently invested in energizing and sharing knowledge with others who are interested in civic engagement, including through her 2015 TEDx talk that focused on her experience advocating for the Heirs Property Act and her award-winning blog, So What Can I Do? She speaks frequently on family economic security, internet equity, and career development, and has taught both online and in the classroom at Emory University, Loyola University Chicago, Shorter College, and the Arkansas School for Mathematics and Science. She also serves on the boards of the Arkansas Access to Justice Commission, the Little Rock branch of the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, and the Mary Reynolds Babcock Foundation. So thank you, Dr. Neal, for all of the work you've done to promote justice and equity in our economic system. We're so thrilled for you to be joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lauren, for that really warm introduction. You dug deep, and so I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. I appreciate that very much. Good afternoon to all of you. It has been such a treat and a pleasure to be able to spend the day with you today. I wish I had been able to be here yesterday. I heard from some of my colleagues who were with you yesterday how enjoyed the conference was yesterday, and I can understand why, having been here with you all this morning and this afternoon. So thank you all for the work that you are doing. Thanks for this very kind invitation to join you all today. Personally, I've been a long time been a fan of the cooperative movement, and I will take maybe a small cue from the Sankofa Circle that happened earlier today, and we were asked to share what brings you here. And you heard from Lauren, you heard in my introduction, really, probably the primary thing that brings me here, right, is my role as administrator at the Rural Business Cooperative Service, one of the agencies at the Rural Development Mission Area at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. That is certainly why I'm here. I'm pleased to be here. I'm going to tell you a lot about some of the kinds of things that we're doing that are specific to cooperatives, some of the kinds of activities and programs and initiatives and resources that we have that are broader but that are very much open to cooperatives and welcoming of cooperatives. We have a bunch of chairs up here because I have several of my colleagues who are all at this table here. Excuse me, and we would welcome the opportunity to maybe have some conversation about that. So, of course, my primary reason for being here is because of the role at the Rural Business Cooperative Service, the only federal agency that has a specific mission around cooperatives. But then there was a second reason. The folks, I don't see right off the two folks who I was sitting next to who I was sharing with, but I said I was here for there were two things that really brought me here. One was that's the primary one, obviously. The other is that I grew up in Arkansas, and my dad, just in the late 60s, early 70s, served as the founding director for a rural cooperative health clinic that was one of the first of its kind in a very small rural town in Arkansas. It was a Black-led cooperative, served everyone in the community, in a community that did not have a hospital. These are very small, very low wealth communities, and so to have a health clinic there at all was a big deal. To have it be a Black-led cooperative was a particularly big deal. And when I talk with my dad about that, he talks about, and he's done a lot of good stuff in his life. And I asked him, I said, what are the things that you're most proud of? The thing he's most proud of is leading that cooperative health clinic. So when I talk about what brings me here, that is part of that story too. And so I just felt like I wanted to share that because I think it gives a little bit of perspective on, the range and the breadth of cooperatives, and the important impact that we heard. We heard a lot about legacy today as well, right? I think that cooperative health clinic that I mentioned is still in operation. And we heard about cooperatives that have been in operation for decades here today, many of you involved in those. So I think there's a lot to learn from that. And again, excited to share a bit about the resources and the opportunities that are provided at the USDA. So collectively, you see on our slide here, we at Rural Development want to strive to be your partners in prosperity. We understand that cooperatives are key to prosperity because the very business model helps businesses build and retain community wealth, family wealth, individual wealth. And that's an important feature. This is why we're pleased to be here with you today. And so I will just take a moment just to introduce my colleagues here who've joined us. I'm really pleased to be with them today. Stephanie Vasruki, who's the Chief of Staff at Rural Business Cooperative Service. Derek Jones, who serves as the branch chief for the Public-Private Partnerships Program. Marcus Stevenson, who's also with Public-Private Partnerships. And Letitia Nichols, who is the Business Cooperative Program Director for Delaware and Maryland. And so really pleased to have all of you all here. Some of them will be able to stay a little bit, and hopefully you'll be able to have conversations with us. So we are pleased to be with you because we are the Rural Business Cooperative Service. Our commitment to cooperatives began almost 100 years ago. In the 1920s, USDA created a, quote, division of cooperative research and assistance for farmer cooperatives. About a decade later, we were helping rural electric cooperatives bring electricity to America's farms, small businesses, towns, and byways. Today, we are proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with tens of thousands of successful cooperatives that bring prosperity, ownership, and pride to the communities that they serve. Cooperatives contribute so much to our economy and to the quality of life in America's rural small towns and farming communities. As this tried and true concept evolves, co-ops are having an outsized impact in urban areas as well. We've heard about some of that today. Across the United States, there are more than 30,000 cooperatives operating in more than 73,000 places of business. These co-ops support agriculture, utilities, financial services, food services, housing, healthcare, home care, childcare, retail, so much more. I heard so many of the kinds of things, again, when folks were sharing in the Sankofa circle today, such the breadth of cooperatives that we heard today. I think I heard about land, environmental justice, heard about food and finance and housing and farming. Such a wide breadth. I think that's a testament to the strength and the flexibility of the cooperative business model. Of course, credit unions are also cooperatives and provide financial services to 1/3 of the nation's population. America's co-ops employ more than 2 million people, serve more than 350 million members, and generate more than $650 billion in annual revenue. More than 1,700 agricultural co-ops in 9,500 locations across all 50 states contribute more than $200 billion in annual revenue to the nation's economy. So this is why we're excited to be here. This is the movement that so many of you are involved in, have been involved in, will continue to be involved in going forward. So let me share a little bit about some of our agendas, some of the kinds of things we're doing at USDA. Someone asked, and I'm not going to be able to point out who it was, but I heard someone say in the Sankofa circle, talking about funding and resources and policy. And I was really pleased to hear that person say that, because I think at least I touch on all of those. And if folks have questions, we'll be available a little bit afterwards to maybe have some discussion about that as well. So let me talk about what USDA's strategic goals are. And folks at USDA will know that this is really hot off the press. We just got these strategic goals, our strategic plan for fiscal years 2022 through 2026 released, I think last week before last. This is hot off the press. This is actually the first time I've used these slides. We made these slides specifically for this presentation, so y'all get to be the first ones to hear about this. So when we think about now, again, the very nature of cooperatives, the way you work, your priorities, your goals, your impact, align well with USDA priorities. USDA has committed to 6 goals in our most recent strategic plan. If you want to see the full document, I think it's actually helpful to see what we're doing now. What is the work, and what is our North Star? What are our guiding principles now for the work that we're doing? These six priorities are combating climate change to support America's working lands, natural resources, and communities, because we understand that investments in climate-smart agriculture, forestry, renewable energy will reduce emissions and create new and better market opportunities for all producers. We want to ensure that America's agricultural system is equitable, resilient, and prosperous. We want historically underserved communities to have improved access to USDA programs and opportunities as we root out systemic racism and discrimination. This is written in the strategic plan. We want to foster an equitable and competitive marketplace for all agricultural producers so that new tools, funding, and research can help a diverse array of producers and landowners adopt conservation practices and access new products and markets. We want to provide all Americans with safe and nutritious food so that people can benefit from investments that provide consistent access to safe, healthy, affordable food that's essential to optimal health and well-being, and to address food and nutrition security. We want to expand opportunities for economic development and improve quality of life in rural and tribal communities so that rural and tribal communities will benefit from historic investments in broadband, clean water, and clean and renewable energy infrastructure that will foster new jobs and market opportunities. And finally, but certainly not least, we want to attract and inspire a retain an engaged and motivated workforce that's proud to represent USDA. Again, this is important so that USDA's workforce is strong, healthy, inclusive, and comprised of leaders and staff that work together to build a culture that welcomes, respects, and supports everyone to reach their highest potential. I take a little bit of time and share a little bit still about the strategic plan too, because I think it's important to see what the organization has, what the agency has committed itself to, what those words are. I see a question. Go ahead.
Just a quick question. When were those strategic goals created? How long?
Literally, I think it's 2 weeks ago. If it's been 2 weeks, it's just been 2 weeks. So let me just say this, though. Let me say this. I think this is built off of a long set of work, right? This is not. We didn't just come up with it 2 weeks ago. It just got published 2 weeks ago. So there's been significant work on that for a long time, and I think it is important to recognize this is a guiding light. This is a principle of which we do our work and our affairs. So I appreciate the question, though. So cooperatives, of course, are well positioned to contribute to many of these goals. Some of these may align with exactly the kinds of things that you're interested in. And where you all have cooperatives that have a specific mission or set of activities that are related to one or more of these areas, we invite your engagement, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later. So we have 6 goals, and we have 5 cross-cutting priorities. And these goals are sort of built on these cross-cutting priorities. These priorities are addressing climate change through climate-smart agriculture and forestry and renewable energy, creating more and better market opportunities for producers and consumers at home and abroad, tackling food and nutrition insecurity while maintaining a safe food supply, advancing racial justice, equity, and opportunity, and again, making USDA a great place to work for everyone. So what does all this mean for rural development? Our mission area is listed as one of the lead agencies for 9 of the objectives in this 5-year strategic plan. These cover the Rural Business Cooperative Service, where I serve as administrator, where some of my colleagues are, and our sister agencies, the Rural Utility Service and the Rural Housing Service. I'll just have a few highlights here. You can see some of these here. Again, the strategic plan. If you go to usda.gov and put in the search window, strategic plan, this whole 54-page, I think, strategic plan comes up. I encourage you to read it. So I'll just have a few highlights here. For example, thinking about building food systems, infrastructure, and supply chain. That's a key, one of the priorities where rural development is directly engaged. Increasing capacity, sustainability, and economic vitality of rural and tribal communities. Again, a key place for rural development. That's where we're going to be focused. Promoting environmental justice by maximizing sustainable and green economic development in rural and tribal communities. I heard someone talk about environmental justice today in the Sankofa Circle. Again, that's something we're going to be focused on. Also wanted to highlight fostering a culture of civil rights, diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, transparency, and accountability. Establishing a customer-centric inclusive, high-performing workforce that is representative of America and the communities that we serve. And finally, I wanted to highlight promoting USDA's operational workforce through better use of technology and shared solutions. Again, encourage you to visit the website. You can see it there if you're interested in learning more about what this means. And you know, we serve you all, so how you can hold us accountable and inform the work that we are doing. So again, what do we think about this, and what does this mean? Let's trickle this down a little bit more to rural development, where we are serving. We are particularly interested in 3 priorities that will help rural America build back better and stronger. So we're excited by projects that assist rural communities with recovering economically from the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, particularly disadvantaged communities. We want to reduce climate pollution and increase resilience to the impacts of climate change through economic support of rural communities. And we want to ensure that all rural residents have equitable access to rural development programs and benefit from rural development funded projects. These priorities are used for the scoring and selection process for many of our programs and a growing number of our programs. So our commitments to these kinds of things are evident throughout our work. There are, of course, many opportunities for cooperatives to address issues of climate, equity, and economic recovery. So again, I encourage you to visit our website, rd.usda.gov/priority-points, to see the maps and the public data supporting the use of these priorities in project selection and scoring, and to learn how these priorities apply or will apply to the financing programs that you might be interested in. We're going to get to the financing programs in just a second, and there's been some interest in that. So equity, you've heard me mention that a number of times. It's come up already. We are very pleased about USDA's new Equity Commission. The 15-member commission is part of an acknowledgement that USDA has, quote, not done enough to provide all farmers and ranchers an equal chance at success and prosperity. We are committed to changing that, actively working to build a USDA that ensures that none of our customers are ignored or left behind. The first meeting of this Equity Commission was held just over a month ago on February 28th. And a recording of that meeting is available on the website that you see there, usda.gov/equity-commission. All of the meetings are open to the public, and those who are interested in attending can visit the website to learn when the next meetings will be and to register to participate in those. The Equity Commission is supported by the American Rescue Plan Act, and in addition to the 15-member commission, there is an overlapping subcommittee on agriculture and one soon to come on rural development. The work that the Equity Commission is doing is going to empower, and is already empowering, USDA to objectively confront the hard reality of past discrimination and its lingering harm, again, helping USDA build back better. So as you can tell from our name, Rural Business Cooperative Service, part of our work is to help build and sustain cooperatives. We do so through a variety of programs and services. Start with the Rural Cooperative Development Grant Program. This provides economic support. This helps improve the economic condition of rural areas by helping individuals and businesses start, expand, or improve rural cooperatives and other mutually owned businesses through cooperative development centers. Nonprofit corporations and institutions of higher education are eligible to apply for this program, and funds can be used for developing and operating a rural cooperative development center. Examples of the kinds of technical assistance and other services that these centers provide include things like conducting feasibility studies, developing business plans, providing leadership and operational improvement training, and facilitating strategic planning. Funding was about $5.8 million in 2021 with a maximum grant of $200,000. We actually just released this information very recently, I think this week actually, I think is when it came out. Thank you, I see some nods confirming that, thank you. And some nods for people who are watching this as well. So yeah, this program just was released for FY22, and of course, welcome folks' interest and engagement in that program. So again, you can visit the website, and I'll say as well, I've shared with Ron a PDF of these slides, so that's available as he's able to share those with all of the attendees. You're welcome to see that as well. So that is one of our cooperative-specific programs. Let me share a little bit about another. This is the Socially Disadvantaged Groups Grant. This program provides technical assistance to socially disadvantaged groups through cooperatives and cooperative development centers. Funds have to be used to provide technical assistance to socially disadvantaged groups in rural areas. And examples of this technical assistance are similarly feasibility studies, business plans, strategic planning, and leadership training. So again, encourage you to visit the website to learn more about when to apply, how to apply. Now is the perfect time to do so, to sign up to learn more and get that information when it comes out. We expect to have some more information on that program soon. In addition to our cooperative-specific funding, we also offer cooperative services because we understand the importance of the cooperative business model. Co-ops operate nimbly in challenging economic times. Their democratic structure allows them to pivot quickly and provide positive impact for their members, workers, and communities. And today, when many people are seeking work that has community meaning and personal value, cooperatives may offer the advantage of authenticity. Cooperatives are a model of economic sustainability and an economic bedrock for all kinds of communities, many of which are represented here. Again, this is a particularly resilient and sustainable business form, essential to the U.S. economy, particularly in rural communities where they often fill market gaps. And I actually was having a conversation that's not, of course, specific to rural communities. They often fill market gaps in urban communities as well. We're just the Rural Business Cooperative Service, so we have to focus our work there. But there is obviously cooperative impact throughout the country. Agricultural cooperatives, in particular, can provide effective marketing, low-cost supplies and services to their member owners. Cooperatives bring electricity, e-connectivity, affordable housing, capital, financial services, a range of other goods and services to people across the country. These goods and services, of course, help sustain the communities. And funding is just part of the story. It's a big part, but it's just part of the story. We all know that the cooperative movement benefits from research, education, and technical assistance, and more. And we hope you'll peruse the collection of recent and archival publications that are, again, on our website, including titles like Co-ops 101, How to Start a Cooperative, Federal Statutes of Special Importance to Farmer Cooperatives, Tax Law for Cooperatives, Agricultural Cooperative Extension Statistics, which we publish regularly, and of course many other research reports, service reports, and cooperative information reports, all of which are available for free on our website. Encourage you to make use of those resources. I heard someone talk about that earlier today. We strive to make those resources available so that folks can use them. The team at the Cooperative Service Branch does an excellent job of providing technical assistance to existing and aspiring cooperatives, and they serve the cooperative community by doing this, doing things like this and speaking at this conference. And so we again encourage you to reach out to them. Because of our long-standing commitment to cooperatives, we are pleased to lead the Interagency Working Group on Cooperatives throughout the federal government. The goal of this group is to foster cooperative development and ensure coordination with federal agencies and national and local cooperative organizations that have cooperative programs and interests. As you can see from this slide, almost 24 federal agencies and offices participate in this working group, which was authorized by the 2014 Farm Bill and also includes private sector organizations. We look forward to working with you and your organizations and our colleagues in the federal family to realize the full potential of the Interagency Working Group for cooperative development. So we talked a little bit about now, sort of had focused primarily on the cooperative-specific kinds of programs and services that we have. Now I'd like to turn to a number of other opportunities, some of which may be directly of interest, some of which you may take back maybe to other folks who might be interested in them. These are broad programs, not specific to cooperatives, but welcoming of cooperatives. And I would say intentionally welcoming to cooperatives. So as a starting point, the Business and Industry Guaranteed Loan Program. Lenders who are serving cooperatives and others may be interested in this program. Depending on the project, lenders working with cooperatives in particular can get their loans of up to $40 million guaranteed at 80% to reduce risk to the lender. So you can imagine if a lender is making a loan, doesn't matter how big the loan is, they're putting their money at risk, right? Because they don't know the future. No one knows the future. So they're putting some level of their money at risk. If they can have a federal guarantee that says, you know, you're making a $100,000 loan and we're going to guarantee 80% of that. So $80,000 if on the off chance something happens. If this doesn't work out like everybody expects it will, then that lender knows that some of that money, 80% of their dollars, are covered by the federal guarantee. That can reduce risk to the lender. That can make the lender more potentially more willing to engage, more willing to consider certain projects, are more willing to offer rates on those projects that are more amenable and more favorable. So again, these loan guarantee products, we'll see, I'll mention several of them, but these can be really important. Again, we intentionally designed these to be open to and welcoming of cooperatives. So again, if you are a lender, or if you work with a lender who is financing a cooperative or might want to finance a cooperative, again, encourage you to visit the website to learn more about the Business and Industry Guaranteed Loan Program. Another program I wanted to mention is the Value Added Producers Grant. This program can help cooperatives add value to crops that their members produce. So this is specifically for agricultural cooperatives, or it's not specific to cooperatives, specific to agricultural producers, including agricultural cooperatives. The goals of this program are to generate new products, create and expand marketing opportunities, and increase producer income. Applications may receive priority if they're proposing a mid-tier value chain, or for a beginning farmer or rancher, a socially disadvantaged farmer or rancher, a small or medium-sized farm or ranch, structured as a family farm, or a farmer or rancher cooperative. So again, very intentionally being welcoming of cooperatives in this program. Cooperatives may be eligible for other kinds of rural development programs as well, including programs focused on COVID response, energy, housing, water, environmental, and broadband programs. Again, these are just some of the kinds of things that are open to our programs. And we have more than, I think it's more than 40 programs across rural development. So again, encourage folks to visit and see what might be of interest, what might be a fit for the work that you are doing. So let me turn a little bit. When I was looking through the program, and at the end, there was a list of all the, I guess maybe the registered attendees, and there were a number that looked like they were involved in food systems. And so I'm glad that I had included a bunch of work on, some of our work on food systems. So under the leadership of President Biden, Vice President Harris, and Secretary Vilsack, USDA is committed to strengthening and diversifying the food supply chain while creating jobs and opportunities in rural areas. Given the lessons learned from the COVID-19 pandemic and recent supply chain interruptions, the U.S. Department of Agriculture announced plans to invest $4 billion to strengthen critical supply chains through the Build Back Better initiative. The pandemic, in particular, highlighted the need to increase the capacity of the U.S. food supply chain, and make it more resilient, diverse, and secure. This new multi-billion-dollar effort will strengthen the food system, create new market opportunities, tackle the climate crisis, help communities that have been left behind, and support good-paying jobs throughout the supply chain. This funding is primarily through the American Rescue Plan Act. One of the early initiatives of this effort across the entire food system is the administration's action plan for building a fairer, more competitive, and more resilient meat and poultry supply chain. This action plan was announced by the President and the Secretary of Agriculture on January 3rd, and you can learn more about the action plan at usda.gov/meat. That's probably the easiest website they have this whole time, usda.gov/meat. And encourage you to visit that if that's something you're interested in at all. When you visit that site, you'll find the rationale for this important work and a list of the programs and policies that are being developed. These include grants, loans via intermediaries, technical assistance, workforce development, innovation support, and rules and enforcement. This website is updated regularly, so I encourage you to check back often. Also, you can sign up for updates on each of the programs so that you'll be the first to know when new opportunities become available. One of the first of these opportunities is the new Food Supply Chain Guaranteed Loan Program. This new loan program will create more and better market opportunities, promote competition, and strengthen America's food supply chain by increasing capacity and, again, making it more resilient, diverse, and secure. Through the new Food Supply Chain Guaranteed Loan Program, USDA is leveraging $100 million in funding from the American Rescue Plan Act to back up more than $1.3 billion in guaranteed loans to finance working capital, facilities, equipment, and other investments. This program guarantees loans of up to $40 million with no minimum for qualified lenders to finance food systems projects, specifically for the startup or expansion of activities in the middle of the food supply chain, activities such as aggregation, processing, manufacturing, storage, transportation, wholesaling, or distribution of food. One of the things we find is that there is significant activity at the production level. There's also significant activity, not enough, but at the retail level. We certainly know there are food deserts and retail deserts there, but there is significant activity at the retail level. Where the constriction really lies in the context of the food supply chain is in the middle, and that's why this program is focused broadly on the middle of the food supply chain. Another important thing I want to note here, I've been saying rural, rural, rural all the time because we're the Rural Business Cooperative Service, but this particular program has no geographic restrictions at all. And I really want to highlight that because, you know, you might think if you're sitting in if you're from an urban area, you're hearing me talk, and I've said rural, I don't know how many times so far, right? You might think, well, there's nothing here that she has for me. Well, this may be for you. This is something that, again, there are no geographic restrictions on. I would, again, encourage folks, particularly who are lenders, or if you're working with your lender, to share this with your lender. Share this opportunity. If there are lenders in the room, I know I've heard at least from I think at least 2 financial institutions who spoke, who are cooperative lenders, are working with cooperatives. Again, this may be something that you might be interested in engaging in, is this loan guarantee program. It is important to note that a variety of lenders can participate. Sometimes it's easy to sort of default to saying banks, and we certainly welcome our bank member participants. We're glad to be working with them. But this program is open to credit unions, which are cooperatives, of course, as you all know. It's also open to loan funds, like CDFI loan funds and other loan funds. So there are a set of requirements. Again, information is available at that website and on our website in general. And so welcome you to ask, if you have additional questions on that, we can talk about that. But again, welcome lenders to be engaged in this program because of the work, again, that we think that it can provide across the food system and across America, not just limited to rural areas. I'll also note that once a lender participates in this food supply chain guarantee program, they also are eligible to participate in the other guarantee programs that I've mentioned so far and the other ones that we have at Rural Development as well. So I said that this program focuses on the middle of the food supply chain. Said a little bit about why that is. In addition, though, through June 7th of this year, 19% of the funds, or a little over $250 million, are reserved for meat and poultry processing. This is was done in anticipation of this administration's action plan on the meat and poultry supply chain. I want to be clear that while these funds are reserved through June 7th, we welcome applications for meat and poultry processing until funds are expended. It's just that reserve will expire on June 7th. But again, as long as monies are available, we certainly welcome those applications. So continuing on February 24th, we announced a new opportunity, another one. This is the Meat and Poultry Processing Expansion Program. This uses $150 million from the American Rescue Plan Act that will help provide more and better processing options to producers as soon as possible. We're offering grants of up to $25 million to expand processing capacity through a variety of activities, including but not limited to construction, expansion of existing facilities, and acquisition of equipment. These grants are available to individuals and entities engaged in or proposing to engage in a variety of activities. I've already said that. Activities like construction, expansion, and acquisition of equipment. We want them to be engaged in meat and poultry processing as long as they are not one of the big 4. So part of, again, you heard this in the name of the action plan. We want it to be more competitive. That means bringing more capacity online and broadening the diversity of those processors that are at the table. USDA encourages applications that benefit small farmers, ranchers, and those just starting out, as well as tribal producers, socially disadvantaged producers, military veterans, underserved communities, and of course, cooperatives. This is one of the many actions that USDA has taken to enhance local and regional food systems and to support economic systems where wealth is created in rural areas and stays in rural areas. Applications for this particular program are due on May 11th. And this was recently extended from April 11th. So if there's been any talk about this in your communities, just know that application deadline was recently extended. Folks should have gotten information about that. Again, this is just one of many opportunities in the meat space, but also in the food space. We're developing a number of opportunities across the different types of food. And please be on the lookout. Sign up for updates at usda.gov so that you can learn more about those programs. So, as I mentioned, I think earlier, that rural development is comprised of 3 agencies, all of which play a key role in helping particularly rural communities prosper. The Rural Utilities Service offers programs focused on broadband, electricity, water, and waste. And I'll just highlight for this group in particular that the electricity is often rural electric cooperatives. The Rural Housing Service offers programs focused on multifamily housing, single-family housing, farm labor housing, and community facilities. Those community facilities are often really useful tools in communities, helping build communities. And of course, I've just talked about a number of the programs and initiatives at the Rural Business Cooperative Service. We have barely scratched the surface today, but the rural development state and area offices are truly the front door to rural development programs and services. So as I close, I encourage you to engage with us. Hopefully, starting now, we'll bring some folks up and we'll see if folks have questions. We can talk through that. Some of you may have participated in listening sessions. We held listening sessions on the Rural Cooperative Development Grant Program. If you've done that, we appreciate that. We take that feedback seriously. We use it in the next iterations of our programs. Your shared thoughts on how to streamline our application process, when the application period should be held, how long the period should be, how to measure success and sustainability, all of that really matters. And so again, if you have participated in those kinds of listening sessions, thank you. If you've not, we encourage you to participate. These are important things. And again, we are here to serve you, and we want to make sure that we're doing that well. We encourage you to reach out to any one of our almost 400 state and area offices. I know there are people here from all over the country. We have, again, as I said, 400 state and area offices across the country. Again, they are the place to get started with rural development programs. And so you'll see my contact information here. Really appreciate your time and attention. I know some of you may have sat in with our colleagues on the earlier rural business session that was held earlier just before this one. And so again, we welcome your questions, we welcome your engagement. We thank you for the work that you're doing in this important sector. And so again, thank you very much for all that you're doing to support cooperative development. We again want to be your partner in that. And again, enjoy the rest of the conference. So how are we on time?
15 minutes.
Okay.
So I can help facilitate.
Okay, perfect. So maybe I'll just take a moment. I have my colleagues. If folks have questions, Lauren's has just volunteered to help sort of facilitate getting questions and making sure we have that. I'll introduce, and y'all can come up as you like. Stephanie Vasruki, again, is Chief of Staff for Rural Business Cooperative Service. We have chairs up here, and we can talk through any questions that you all might have. Derek Jones, who's the branch chief of the Public-Private Partnership branch. Letitia Nichols, who is the Business Cooperative Program Director for Delaware and Maryland, and Marcus Stevenson, if you'd like to join us as well, who's also with the Public-Private Partnership Program. So again, we welcome your questions. I'm happy to talk with you.
Okay, gentleman in the burgundy shirt.
Yeah, I got two questions. One of them is the $4 billion that you mentioned for COVID, the same $4 billion that is tied up right now in court by white farmers that are saying that it's discriminatory to white farmers? That was one question.
Okay.
The second question, and just what's the status of that? The second question, and I know the Federation of Southern Cooperatives has been part of challenging the white farmers on that. The second question is the Biden administration has put out the Justice 40 initiative, where 40% of federal dollars are spent that's in addressing climate change is supposed to be benefiting communities of color and disadvantaged, what are considered disadvantaged communities. And so I'm just wondering if the program that you mentioned earlier related to climate change infrastructure, if that's a part of that program, and how are you actually making sure that that money and infrastructure projects wind up benefiting Black farmers, Black consumer co-ops, anybody that's doing that might fit within the program?
Yeah, all really good questions. So let me make sure I can remember all of them. So the first one is, like, is this the same pot of money? Completely different pots of money. And I will say that the work on farmer loan repayment, that kind of work, is not housed in our agency. So I'm not really qualified to speak about it. I do follow it a little bit on the news, but I would want you to follow up with the Farm Service Administration. That's the missionary that's handling that work. You can go on their website. I believe they have some links to provide additional information as that work is continuing. But that's not in our missionary, but it certainly is something we're thoughtful about. And you can see some of the thoughtfulness about it in the strategic plan, like some of the comments that we mentioned there. You asked about Justice 40 initiative. So we were actually really pleased at Rural Business Cooperative Service. So when the Justice 40 initiative was first announced, this is an initiative that it actually is not, and I want to be clear, because it's actually not dollars, it's 40% of benefits that are going to be in underserved communities. And so and I think that's an important distinction, because you don't want to just put dollars in if the dollars don't actually have the benefits. We want to talk about what the benefits are. We were very pleased that when that was first announced, that there were a number of pilot programs across the federal family, federal departments. And there was one pilot program selected at USDA, and it was a program that was in our area. It was what's called the Rural Energy for America program. I'm sorry, I was in a place where I said it a number of times and it just got lost in my head there. Rural Energy for America program, often called REAP, which provides a number of grants and loan guarantees for things like energy audits, energy efficiency, renewable energy development, those kinds of things. Small grants of under $20,000 to loans of up to $25 million. So a real wide range of products. In looking and sort of doing the work for that pilot program, we were able to see some of what the opportunities were. I was going to say challenges, some of that as well, in terms of how do we measure benefits, how do we define underserved communities, those kinds of things. That work is being aggregated, and now there are a number of programs that are being considered for how we're going to do exactly that and really meet the guidelines and the expectations and the goals that were set out in that executive order that initiated the Environmental Justice 40 work. So it actually is not officially into the programs here yet, because we've just gotten past the pilot program stage, but additionally, soon more programs will be added to that list. I'll chime in, y'all feel free to chime in as needed to. So I will chime in on this. So, in the introduction, Lauren kind of mentioned that, my family has heirs property, so I definitely understand that situation. Family land that's been passed down from generation to generation. You have access to this land. How do you make it an asset, even more of an asset to the family members, to really the collective owners? It might not be a cooperative, but it's definitely collective ownership in that regard. USDA is very involved in that. Again, this is not a place where it's in our mission area, so I'm hesitate to speak specifically on it. But again, I do encourage you to visit the website. Much of this work is in, again, the Farm Services Agency. And so that website, FSA, I think it's fsa.usda.gov, will have some information on that. And so again, encourage you to continue to be attentive to that. I will say there are programs there, some of which will focus on helping folks helping put that land into production, whether it's agricultural production or forestry production, those kinds of things. And then if there are businesses that operate on that, depending on what the status of the land is, in terms of what its title looks like, those kinds of things, there may be opportunities within the Rural Business Cooperative Service for how to use those properties as well.
Yes, I'm just curious, and it just kind of throws me back. How is it, particularly people of color, and when you say alone, how is it that we continue to stay in perpetual debt with the United States of America, who has been toxic, very violent, in regards to any properties we have owned that have been stolen, but yet we got to pay you, the government, back with monies that really should be given because my people's blood is in the soil. So why do we as a people have to continually go for a loan? You should be giving me that money. That's how, I just get so tired when I listen to the etymology of the words that they use and it change and shift. It's like a shift shaker. Do you got some plan that specifically for those families of color can benefit, and if we ain't paying nothing back?
So
Because it should be given to us.
appreciate your remarks, and I think, you heard us talk about some of the grant programs that we have, and that's what a grant is, right? There are requirements around that, but that's what a grant is. And I think, part of what we're thoughtful about, I'll say, is, as stewards of all of our taxpayer dollars, is making sure that we're making good use of those dollars, and that that's what we strive to do every day, is to try to make good use of those and try to think about the best ways in which those dollars can have the most impact. And so, many times, that is a grant program. I said on the session before this, I said on a discussion about a grant program. Sometimes, though, dollars can go far as well if it's a loan program or if it's a loan guarantee program, those kinds of things. So we look at the variety of options for financing the work that's important.
And I hear what you say, but let's look at the history. Okay? It's very well written and documented. And I mean that we would trust people who we know shows no love. Even if you look at within the present administration and how they address whatever issues that we are. I know every other group that got some legislation passed in 2021, 22, yet we still asking for the same. But yet we willing to do the work. But we don't get the help, and as we say, grant. Well, we know those grants come with limitations. Ain't never gonna be enough money given what has happened to us and how they have torn up these lands. I mean, I know a couple of people who just found out that their family had the land. Well, there were other people who came along because of white supremacy and, the KKK come and they was taking people off their land. And then, you want us to go to get a loan to go into perpetual debt when I know you get ready to set me up to take back what's mine,
Well, I definitely hear you, and I would love to talk with you maybe a little bit more. Unfortunately, I have to leave after this meeting, but I appreciate, it's important, the words that you're saying are important, and I hear you on that. I will say as well, this is why we have the Equity Commission, right? And if you go to that website, again, those meetings are public. Anyone can attend those meetings. There are coming up meetings, and again, I've mentioned that the 15-member panel members have already been selected. The members for the Agriculture Subcommittee have already been selected, but there's another subcommittee coming up on rural development. Those are open application processes, and that is part of what we want to be held accountable. Those words that we read in the context, that in the opening parts of the slide where I talked about, that's not trivial. It's not meant to be window dressing. We want to live that, and that's why we have the Equity Commission. That's why we're in conversations like this, and we very much want to hear. That's why we have the listening sessions that I mentioned for some of the other programs. We very much want to hear from you on those. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I don't know what your time is.
I think we have a few more minutes, and I know the Black Voters Matter shirt, I know you've been had a question, so.
How y'all doing? Thank you for joining us and addressing these tough questions. I work for the financial cooperative. We primarily provide business capital. So I'm curious if you guys can expand on maybe some what are some best practices or ways that you would suggest people who do what we do lend business capital. How can we best leverage and partner with the USDA?
You want me to speak to that? Okay. So I would just say, I'm a program director in one of our state offices, and I would suggest that you contact your nearest state office. We are constantly getting inquiries, and sometimes they are coming directly from, business owners that are seeking access to capital. And so I think by you connecting with your state office, they will have, be able to collect your information, be able to talk with you and share with you opportunities and programs where you might be able to partner with our agency in getting funding out.
Yeah, I hear that, and I'm definitely going to reach out to my folks in the West Virginia area.
Yeah.
Can you guys speak to maybe a specific project or
Way?
something,
Okay.
that you have worked with somebody who provides lending on?
Yeah, certainly.
Is it a loan? Like, how is that loan structured?
So primarily, our direct relationship with lenders as our partners are through our guaranteed loan programs. And several of them were shared with you today, but there's a number of others that cross over into the other program areas outside of rural business cooperative service. So we have housing programs that work with guaranteed lenders, as well as our community programs, community facility, and water and environmental programs as well. But primarily that lender relationship is through our guaranteed loan programs. Sometimes they also, directly can benefit from our funding as an intermediary lender. So we have an IRP program, we call it Intermediary Relending Program, and we also have a Rural Micro Entrepreneur Assistance Program. Those are intermediary programs in that we're working with lenders to provide small business capital directly to small businesses. We give them low interest loans. IRP is 1%. RMAP is 2%. RMAP also has a grant component associated with it that you can utilize those grant dollars to provide technical assistance to the potential businesses that you would lend to.
Last question, and I'm done, I promise.
Last question. That's the last question.
So did you ask what state I'm in? I'm in Delaware and Maryland, but there's someone like me in 46 other states. Certainly, I can connect you with my West Virginia colleague.
I'll talk to you later. We'll let somebody else.
She was helping you.
No, we're gonna cut. All right. We're gonna cut. All right. Okay. No more questions. No more questions. We're gonna get back on track. No more questions. You can put your hands down. Okay, so I don't like being this way, but we are on time, and we're going to stay on time now, and so you'll get their presentations and their contact information so you can follow up with them on your own time and your own accord. Okay, all right. So Dr. Neal, thank you for coming, and I really appreciate you saying yes when I reached out to you.
It's my pleasure.
And for bringing your staff along. And yes. I'm going to have Kane Nichols. Kane, can you go out and collect those sign-ups? Because, again, this work is the work that we're trying to continue. So, so if you can sign up, and get engaged, get involved, we can become a partner with the USDA. And that's what we want to be, a partner with them, and helping them to expand their racial equity in Black and brown communities. All right? So, again, thank you. And thank all of you for joining in this discussion today. All right? The session starts at 12:30. We've got a few more moments to mingle. And again, I'll be making this a PowerPoint available to you. The what? Standing behind?
Thank you so much. This is a real treat.
Wonderful, yeah.
It's very kind of you.
Really great for you all to be here.
Really appreciate the opportunity. Y'all trying to figure out a way out. Sorry. Yeah, too many chairs up here. That's part of it.
It looks like folks might have.
I don't mind. No. I laugh. It's like that's
Right. Like, I'm officially famous now.
You too.